Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I have a fantastic rack. I have 7-letter bingos, pigeons, and epigons. Do either of those play? Now, what are the hooks for Viva? Does Viva take an S? And I think it does. Yes, it does. So both of those play in column 11. Do I have something better in column 8, beginning or ending with the I? I don't think so. So epigons or pigeons? I think pigeons slightly better in terms of vowel placement. Or is it the Z can go in front of the O? Well, epigons also places the O there. So pigeons for 81. No duplicates, but it doesn't look close to a bingo. However, I do have scoring tiles in the K and the W. Now, I've had a bit of a nightmare week with respect to my recording equipment. I attempted to record a game 5 days ago, and I had no audio. I couldn't speak into the microphone. My recording equipment was showing that there was no sound coming from the microphone, but the microphone travels through a preamp and an audio interface before going into 2 different types of software on my screen. So I had to work out which part of the chain was broken, and it turned out to be the audio interface, but it took me 5 days to find that. Hence, I'm recording this the night before it's going to go out on YouTube. So 19 points for my opponent. The only floaters are in Vivas, which don't really help me in terms of a bingo. I don't have a tile for going after ID. Now, both my K and my W can go in front of the O. So, what do I have? I have Carl. I don't think I can play off both, my K and my W. But I have Carl. And the rack lead isn't too bad, so 36 points. Not great, U and W together. Generally pretty restrictive. Certainly in terms of bingo prospects. And also difficult to play both of them off at the same time, which is probably the main reason why it's such a pain to have them together on your rack. So I'm looking to play off 2 out of U, W, and Y, and I could do that with Yow. The board is pretty restrictive in terms of scoring opportunities. Vivas is a pretty deadly opening play because nothing can go in front or after Viva, so there are no parallel plays in rows G and I, and plays in column 7 are not going to score very much, hence most of the action is likely to be elsewhere, and that's going to bunch the board up. However, due to pigeons, I do have a lead of about 70 points, so I'm in good shape, and a tight board is fine by me. So I've had to go out and buy a new audio interface, and I'm absolutely delighted with the one which I've bought. I've done a bit of research, and I bought the Audient ID14, which looks pretty fantastic. So I look forward to learning how to operate that to maximum effect. And I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to all of my Patreon patrons, because it is just this sort of situation when a bit of equipment fails and you need to go out and buy some more immediately, which it's just that sort of situation whose blow is softened by the financial contributions of the patrons that I have on Patreon. So thank you very much to each and every one of you. And if anybody wants to become a Patreon, the link is in the description below this video, and indeed below all of my videos. Great. Opponent does play through the V, and therefore doesn't score very much. And I have a T for going in front of Ivy. But what I don't have is a word using the T which also uses any of U, W, and Y, or two of them. Not that I can see. Anyway, I still don't have an E for going after id. Just wondering if I've got to play through id. I've got the out prefix. Not seeing anything there. I'm not sure if Carl takes an S after it or not. I think it may not. My W can go after double E. But what I don't have is a play using the U and the Y as well. So, am I missing something? Probably. I can't see anywhere for Yao, which is a shame. Y does go after GU. So, wow, I thought I had Toei, and I do. But that doesn't hook Ivy. Now, what about a TW play in column 13? Well, I think the best I can do is TWO. That isn't great. Can't see anywhere for my Y. Gosh, this is a tricky situation. I don't really want to open the board up since I'm ahead. So what to do? So what does 2 score here? 16 points and keeping a horrible rack leave. I don't like that. Well, I do have a play which uses 2 of YUW. I have Yurt. Rack leave's pretty poor, but the O and the W do go well together. The U not massively dangerous. So Yurt for 19. Well, that could have been a lot worse. I finally do have an E for going after id. In fact, I have EEW in that spot, keeping lion for over 30 points, which is pretty good. And my opponent may be distracted by my Yurt play. Players do have a tendency to play using openings that have just been created by their opponent to a greater extent than you observe if you're watching a computer play. Yurt takes an S, so column 8 is available for a 6-letter S play. Potentially high scoring with a Z or an X on this double letter square. It would be nice to keep one of my E's. EEW burns both of them. So what if that spot is taken? What else do I have? Only my N goes in front of the U. So I don't have anything great in row E. Tivy takes an S in front, so potentially a hot spot in row E. U could go in front of X with a parallel play. Sorry, X could go in front of U. Nothing goes after Vivas or after Tivy. 15 minutes on my opponent's clock and on mine. So can I do better than EEW? And is there something better in the same spot? Because L and N can also go after GU. Well, I'm not seeing a play. And both of those tiles can also go after double E, so I could have a play ENL. But I'm not seeing such a play. I did attempt to play a game last night. It was great for my opponent, a bingo, 69 points, and he burns a blank. So he's now just 14 points behind. Mutas has really opened the board up. A ton of really bingo-y floaters in T, E, R, and S. I don't think I have a bingo with this rack. Tempting to play EEW, but maybe I should be playing in row O. Do I have a play with the W doubled? Well, I'm not seeing a play. So what about a play straight down? I could play Wino, which takes out all the floaters, scores 30 points, holds back an E, and obstructs row O play. So I think this is better than EEW, despite having a worse vowel consonant balance. And I think wine would actually be better than wino. Just. So I'm going with this. Slightly vowel heavy, but not too far away from a bingo. However, no floating, or very few floating consonants to consider. And no scoring tiles, so this is the sort of rack where it's going to be a real struggle to score, and I'm only 40 points in the lead, so my opponent should be closing me down. Wine only takes an S after it that I've got. A play of E, U, O, I would leave a decent rack leave. That doesn't play in column 13. Or indeed anywhere that I can see. Woe only takes a T in front. Now, if I can't play Uoi, Louis is the other candidate play which stands out. That does play in column 13, but only hooking double E, so isn't going to score very much. 10 points, but is better than changing. Now I would have Louteries through a T and an R separated. Any other two-letter sets to consider? Well, there's ID, but I'm not seeing anything through that. So at the moment, I have got no candidate moves that I like. I've only seen Louis in column 13, and I don't like that. My O can go in front of the U. But then I've got nothing to go in front of the Y, so I don't have a play in row E, apart from OE. 10 points, and that's retaining the U. Or OU in that spot. That might be worth considering. EEILS is not a terrible rack leave, especially if I draw consonants. In fact, it would be quite bingo-y. And it's the same score as Louis. And it's stopping my opponent from scoring there, so I think that would be my preferred play. I think I'll just check if Carl takes an S. I don't think it does. No, it doesn't. So opponent played Mutas, has drawn 7 random tiles, and has now spent quite a lot of time thinking about his move. That always makes me think that maybe he's drawn the second blank and is looking for a bingo, or looking for the best bingo. Now I could have a play through the V. Evolue doesn't quite work because OL isn't good. My L can go after Jew. That's not particularly useful. Now I have an S for going after Yurt, so I could play Louise in column 8. 29 points. Well, that is worth doing. The S is only worth about 8 or 9 points, so 29 points is 19 more than OU. Actually, those moves are pretty close because it's not just a case of adding up the values for S, E, I, and L. There's quite a bit of synergy going on there. EILS is quite a strong 4-letter set, so I suspect there's very little difference between Louise and OU. I would be inclined to play Louise because the score is good. And I think if the rack leave had been EILS rather than EEILS, I may well have taken the lower score. EEILS is a sort of rack leave which can produce a bingo, but all too often you draw another vowel and you don't have one. Great, only 35 points for my opponent. Now Beau takes an O, which I have. So does that change anything? I don't think it does. I don't have a 4-letter play ending O, or a play ending OSS. My O can also go in front of bit. Well, again, I'm not seeing anything. Now, this is creating a few floaters for my opponent, but I don't think they're massively useful. Famous last words. So, Louise for 29. Not as bad as it could be. It is a balanced rack, and I do have A and T to go with the Q. So I've got cat underneath Yurts. And onto an F, I would have Waqf, both Fs still to play. And there's a U for my Q. So do I have a play through that? Not using the W, but I think Waqf is the only QW play I can think of. So I think the best I can do in column 5 is Quat. Through an A, I would have Canat. Now there's also the U of Louise I could play through, so do I have a play going through that and going through ID? I don't think I do. But this is looking fairly promising in terms of actually getting rid of the Q. And although the W is not a bingo-y tile, the rest of the tiles in my rack leave will be bingo-y. And the unseen tiles are also quite bingo-y. Again, opponent taking a while with his move. Only 7 minutes on his clock, and there are 43 tiles in the bag. That's likely to prove a problem for him only if he's looking for a bingo and not finding one, because as soon as you start playing bingos, you can reduce the unseen tiles quite dramatically. Just looking again at this UID spot, or even just the U by itself, because I could have a play ending QUA or QUE. So I do have Qua for 22. That does take an A in front. It would be, in column 5, Qua would be more attractive than Quat in terms of rack leave, because the T would stop the rack leave being vowel heavy, and it's a bingo-y tile, but its A front hook would be dangerous, especially with 6 A's still to play. So, opponent down to 6 minutes. I think given that my opponent is so low on time, I'm inclined to play a little bit faster. not to the detriment of my own game. Through an R and Y, I would have QWERTY. So if my opponent places an R precisely here at D4, I would have that with the Q doubled. With a U, I would have Q-bit in row L. I haven't really paid much attention to the bottom of the board. Great, only 31 points for my opponent. He hasn't provided anywhere new. So, is this the best Q spot? Cat for 29. 26 in column 5. Less elsewhere. This is providing a spot with 4 eyes to come for a high-scoring play in row H. Quat takes an S in front, so I think I will take that risk. Cat for 29. Not great, but fairly easy to deal with because I should be able to jettison the F and the W together with a play like few, and then the rack leave of A, E, N, S is pretty strong. I don't think I have a bingo with this rack. I have F, L, E, W through the L. That doesn't score very much, but does provide the best rack leave. So I haven't seen anywhere for F, E, W. And I don't have any alternative plays which score very much. Okay. Wow, I thought that was another bingo for my opponent, but it's not. It's just 6 tiles. But he's only 3 points behind, and by turning over a lot of tiles, he's increasing his chances of drawing the blank. And there's an S out there and several E's, so quite a bingo-y bag. I could play few in row N, but that takes an S. So it would be setting up a good hot spot for my opponent. I'm looking again at the top of the board in case I have anything. I have 4 as well as few on my rack. The Q not in the right place for whack, even though WAQF, even though I have all of the right tiles for that. 11 minutes on my clock. So, what about playing fawned? 26 points, which is a good score. I'm providing a bingo lane to some extent in column 13, but difficult to get more than face value because that would require a 4-tile overlap. The biggest danger probably is Z going in front of the A, ZA or ZO. But I am getting rid of my 2 non-bingo-y tiles. And certainly there's a hot spot for the Z for a play ending OZ in column 3. So I'm going with this. Great, I draw the Z. Through an A, I would have craziest. Bit doesn't take an A in front. Just looking to see if I had a bingo through the H, and I don't. So I missed the A's and the O's, so I don't have plays in column 11, getting the Z doubled twice. Are there any other hot Z spots? Just looking at the floaters in Louis, but none of them really work. What about a play in column 13? Wow. I thought I might have something like Zetas, but I don't have the tiles for that. and it doesn't play anyway. What about a play getting the Z doubled and going through the N? Yeah, I do have a play. I have Zines. 48 points, which is good, and I'm keeping the C, which has synergy with the H of Hoy. Am I missing something better? And it's not giving too much away. Certainly it's not opening any new bingo lanes. Let me look at the remaining vowel situation. 11 out of 29, so slightly vowel dry. I could be looking at a very consonant heavy rack. But 48 points is a lot, so that very much counts in its favour. Is there a similar play? What about a play down in column 2, getting the Z tripled? Let me just take this back. So a play, I think I made this mistake before of having a play on the board which obstructed my eye line for a bingo lane. Diwanis. So a play beginning with Z. This isn't looking very hopeful. What about a play in row E? I've got the R for making rear. I've got the C for making cut. Okay, I'm not seeing anything there. It would just be nice to retain one vowel. Zines is a really good score, but the rack leave is tricky. What I could do is just play zone, because sighters is a pretty massive 6-letter set, which goes well with the H, and there are floaters in Louis, and scores 26 points. Tempting. Is there another good spot for just the Z? I think I'm going to go with this. It is a 20-point sacrifice, but this rack leave must be close to being 26 points better than a CRT. Maybe I'll check that at the end of the game if I remember. So it's sighters versus CRT. Okay, so is there a better Z spot? 6 minutes on my clock, 22 tiles to come. I'm going with this. There are a lot of floaters on the board. There's a 7-letter lane in column 13. I could be on the brink of bingoing. That's pretty good. So, what do I have? I have Sitherns and Sithrens through the H. Do I have anything through the L? Can't see anything. What about the O? Gosh, not really with the O in that spot. Corniest, erections. Not seeing anything. Hopefully the H is pretty disguised as a floater. Can't see anything with the U. As in, can't see anything which plays. There's Kerniest. What about the I? In Sighters, that doesn't play. So moving down, we've got the floaters in Fawned. What about the A? Keratins, creatins, cisterna, nacrites, tacrines, scantia. None of those works. The W doesn't work. Nor does the N. Okay, so what about column 13? What are the 7s on my rack? Which would be massively high probability. I've got cistern. Does that play? It doesn't, but look at this. Opponent gets only 13 points. I do have a bingo in column 1. 19 tiles in the bag. Opponent hasn't provided anything. Does cistern have an anagram? It surely does. Cretins. That doesn't play anywhere in column 13. Cretins, cistern. I don't... Well, there may be a third or even a fourth, but I'm not seeing them. I do have a bingo, and it's a really nice bingo because it provides nothing for my opponent. So, Citherns for 64. Here come the consonants, and this was the danger which I faced when I was contemplating playing Zines, so that really has worked out. I've got the J. Can be a good tile to have, but very much dependent on vowels. But there are all the vowels in Louise, and there's ut in column 5, and there's the E of fawn, so there are available vowels on the board. I'd like to play off as many tiles as possible here. Let me look at the vowel situation now. 10 out of 19. It's now a vowel-heavy unseen bag, unseen tile situation. Now I've created a mini hotspot in column 7 because zone takes DRS. So a 3 or 5 letter play could go in column 7 and score 50 odd points. My lead is only 77, and there's still a blank out there, so although I have the advantage with Citherns, the game is not over yet. And interestingly, my opponent's player VL scoring only 13 points is strongly suggestive of a really good 5-letter rack leave. Great, only 20 points. I thought for a moment the X was getting tripled twice, but only 20 points. So 5 minutes on my clock, 1 minute on my opponent's clock. How can I play off tiles here? I've got Jug, which is quite nice because it's interfering with 3 floaters. What I could do is Gajus, burning the S for almost nothing, but taking down the consonants on my rack from 5 to 4, which is a big improvement. I don't have to play the J this turn. 4 minutes on my clock. What about a play from the E of Citherns, because I've got the N? Hoy takes an S. So if I had an R, I would have Dryas. I don't have a vowel for playing in column 7. So what about playing through this E? Well, that's likely to open up column 15. I don't want to do that. Okay, I am playing Gajus for 21. Great, I draw 2 vowels. And I've got an N for going after Chi. Do I have a play beginning with the E or ending MY? I'm not sure I do. I have Eon, EON. 19 points. Certainly when it's a tight game, and it will be super tight if my opponent bingos, then opportunities to score 20 points can be very valuable. Sometimes you're in situations where you struggle to get more than 10 points on a tight board. So it's great to keep the score ticking along, and it puts added pressure on your opponent. Look at this, opponent down to his last minute. Fantastic. And he trails by 80. 7 tiles in the bag. If he bingos, he'll be emptying the bag. But the remaining 14 tiles are pretty nice, and if he's got a play in column 13, that could be a big score. He doesn't, but he opens up a lane in column 14. 3 tiles left. I need to play off 2 tiles, which I can do with Eon, and I'm going to play this quickly to put time pressure on my opponent. He could easily have a bingo, but I've got 4 minutes on my clock to try and outrun him. If he bingos, he'll be picking up one tile, and if you've got only one tile, your scoring prospects are really, really limited. So let me start to look around to see where I can score. Annoyingly, I played off my O for Baito, so I missed out on the big play in column 7. So 3 minutes on my clock. Opponent has bingoed. He's only 2 points behind. He's got an E. And I've got Fantad, which I think does the job. Fantad for 59. All of those tiles are good. Superb. An opponent has 4 seconds to play his E. Yeah, and well, he goes slightly over, so he loses 10 points, but that's the end of the game. And so long since I played on ISC because of my technical problems. Anyway, that's the end of the game. Final score, 382 to my opponent, 439 to me, a winning margin of 57 points. So a huge, huge win. Let's see what I missed. It was my opponent to go first. He plays Viva. Now, there was a third bingo. There was Pingos, but they all scored the same. And they all have the O in the same position. Opponent doesn't have a bingo, despite having the blank. Plays Jew. Cotwell, that's nice. F10. Making duet, but opening up column 15. So I prefer Carl. It scores more. And the rack leave isn't massively worse. Wow, I would have spent a while looking for a bingo with this rack, but there isn't one. Opponent plays Ivy, and this was a rack I struggled with. And look at the rack leave, IRUY, that's, and IRTUW, all of these rack leaves absolutely horrendous. So I play Yurt, keeping IWR, and that's a better rack leave. So did I also have Ewart? I guess I did. F3. Okay. Now, opponent's rack. And he has a choice of bingos and finds a really good one in Mutas, 69 points. Out Homer available at E5. Double. And I have this rack. Great no-miss bingo there. Toe line, L6. Pretty good. 28 points. I play wine for 2 more points and a better rack leave and taking out floaters, so I prefer my play. Opponent plays Beau and I play Louise. Wow, look at that. Opponent has Marigold through the L. Difficult one to spot, but a commonplace word. Plays Dago. And I have Cat at G3, which I like. Opponent plays Smurd. And I play Fawn for 26, which looks fine. Opponent plays Hoy. And this was a critical point in the game. Look at this, we're absolutely dead level. And I can see Zines for 40-odd points, but I don't play it. Czar, K10. Yeah, tempting since I have the S, and if opponent plays in column 14, he'll be opening column 15. I may well have played Czar if I'd seen it. Instead, I played Zone for 26, only 4 fewer points. Zone is a better play. The rack lever Sighters, I think, is super hot. Every increase of 1 tile in a good rack leave makes a big difference, so a good 4-letter rack leave is a lot better than a good 3-1. And so it goes for 5 and 6. So Sighters is a massive 6-letter rack leave. Opponent does have a bingo. Exilable A2 through the L. Plays L. So what did he have? Okay, yeah, he kept a pretty good set, but he did keep the X. my rack, and wow, I saw Scytherns and Scytherans, but it has an anagram, Snitcher. But I think this is a better play. Exequial for my opponent, tricky one to see. Plays Zoo, and now it's tight. I'm only 50 points ahead. Opponent's got likely to have a bingo-y rack, and I've got 7 consonants. I play Jews, which I still like. Opponent doesn't have a bingo. Again, I think I'd have spent a while with this rack looking for one. Plays Peel. K7 nod. Okay, that was the big play in column 7 for 35, but it would have emptied the bag, so I don't want to do that. So I could have played odd. Just odd in that spot for 28, but keeping duplicate N. But I play a Eon for 19, which does a... yeah. It does a similar job, and it splits up the duplicate N. Similar job in leaving 1 in the bag. Opponent does have a bingo, plays it. But then I've got Fantad for 59, which wraps the game up. So, pretty exciting stuff. Really close game. And some interesting decisions to make there, especially with the Citers plus Z rack. So I hope you enjoyed watching that, and I will see you next time. So here we go with cross tables. I was thinking about playing Zines, which would have kept CRT. CRT is worth 3.4. Instead, I played just the Z and kept Citers. So how much better is Citers than CRT? Well, you can't put a 6-letter set into here, but what you can do is put a 5-letter set into here and see how much the 6th letter improves it. So 3.4 for CRT. 16.8 for Citer, and S improves it by 19.3. So this is a 35. Citers is a 35 or 36 point leave, and CRT was 3. So Citers is about 32 points better than CRT, and I only made a 20-point sacrifice in playing Zone. So Zone, clearly on that basis, the better play. So there you go.